Miami has tied the series versus the Nuggets at 1 game apiece, but might not get back a key piece of the rotation anytime soon. I break down the latest reporting on Tyler Herro. Does Miami need Herro to win a championship? I'll answer that on today's show and post my interview with NBA legend and Hall of Famer Gary Payton with his thoughts on the finals and why Miami might win it all on today's NBA Finals edition of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Tuesday edition of Locked On Heat. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts on YouTube. I'm your host, David Ramil. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. As we wait for Game 3 on Wednesday, I'll be joined later in the show by Hall of Famer and 2006 NBA champion Gary Payton for a spectacular interview you don't want to miss. I'll also talk about some unfortunate reporting on Jimmy Butler, plus offer a prediction on Tuesday's Game 3. But I'll start off with the latest on Tyler Herro. We heard before Game 2 that Tyler might be targeting that game on Sunday, for a possible return. That was clearly not the case. He was seen on the sideline, as he has been throughout the playoffs, but he has not been available. He did practice. Apparently, some reporting also indicating that his practice went well, that he looked as explosive as ever. And yet, we're hearing now more and more that it might not seem like a possibility that Tyler returns for Game 3 even. According to Roz Gold on Wunde, she spoke to Tyler, and he indicated there is still some swelling in his hand when he shoots and dribbles. Local reporting, I think Anthony Chang and Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, also indicating that Game 3 unlikely to be an option for Tyler Herro. And I'm starting to think more and more, and we're starting to hear some rumblings about this, that Tyler might be held out altogether. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I know right off the bat, I'm sure a lot of people are questioning that decision-making process on my part. I don't blame you. Tyler, a fantastic player. Some people will chime in under comments saying, I've been anti-Tyler, etc. I love what Tyler brings to the table. I don't know that the NBA Finals is the right place for you to bring in a player who has basically sat out the last couple of months. Cardio notwithstanding, offensive ability notwithstanding, there is just too many questions and too much at stake by bringing Tyler Herro into this volatile situation. You finally played your best game against the Denver Nuggets, this franchise, in a long, long time, and you barely won by 3 points. I know it took a Denver explosion offensively in the last few minutes of the game in order to close the deficit, but you finally managed to win in Denver, and it's a very good Nuggets team. Whether you found something out, something sustainable or not, I don't know that it's the right option for you to bring in a player. If you're going to bring in Tyler Herro, who is a player who needs to be ball dominant, who needs to be able to create his shot, who relies on a multitude of screen setting in order for him to create space, because unfortunately, Tyler's just not at that point where he is an elite level scorer without somebody creating some space for him. He just can't separate from a defender right away. I don't know that this is the best chance for him to be able to continue to work through his injury to get back into a rhythm with so much at stake. Every minute, like we're talking right now, and this is following a win, we're talking about banishing Cody Zeller to some other dimension before he ever suits up for the Miami Heat again. And he played 2.5 minutes or something close to that. And nobody wants to see him out on the floor anytime soon. So imagine putting Tyler out there for a couple of those minutes where he gets torched. And if he doesn't drop, 8-10 points during that stretch? And that's asking a lot. I mean, Tyler's certainly capable of it, but we saw a stretch like that from Duncan Robinson, and we're talking about his heroics a day later. In the same vein, I don't know that Tyler is capable of doing that right now. Again, after missing almost 2 months of action due to injury, do you really want to put him into that situation where he has to be a high-level scorer, where he's not going to get victimized defensively? And I don't think that's the right situation for him. Now, I will say, and I said this prior to the series starting when we were previewing the matchup against the Denver Nuggets, I think it was still in the midst of the series against the Boston Celtics when it looked like Miami was clearly going to advance. I don't know that Tyler's playable, but that's not to say that you couldn't test it out with him for a few minutes stretch here and there, assuming Miami gets into a large hole in the series. If somehow, and it's not unlikely or impossible. Let's give credit where credit is due regarding the Denver Nuggets. They're a very, very good team. If they somehow manage to win 3 and 4 in Miami, again, an unlikely chance, but if they do manage to do it, then you're looking down the barrel of a 3-1 deficit, and you've got to try something. And I assume that if by that point Miami has lost 3 of 4 games against these very same Nuggets, they're going to want to look for an opportunity to improve their offense to be able to get it going against a Nuggets team that figured out something in games 3 and 4 that they did not figure out in game 2, whatever. We don't know what those possibilities are. The point is, if you're in that scenario where you're down 3-1, then yes, Tyler is the right option for you because you need to try something, anything. And he's the best option. He's a talented player, an extremely good player, a potential all-star down the road. And if that's the case and he can provide that scoring, again, this will be a couple days later from now. We're talking about forcing him into Wednesday's game 3 when he might not be ready. That's the ultimate point. He may not be available. He might not be ready to play. If he is, I don't know that you want to take that chance in game 3, especially when you have the potential to go up 2-1 and establish dominance in the series. If you won and you want to get a little feisty, a little spicy, and then try Tyler at that point for an spark, sure. That's a risk that you can take. It's a gamble maybe, but it's a calculated one, knowing what he can provide, and you get a quick hook, you pull him off the bench. Can Miami win the series without Tyler Herro? I think that's a question a lot of Heat fans wouldn't have been able to answer in the affirmative before the series started. But here we are with a series tied 1-1. And I'd say that, yes, Miami can win. They're getting just enough offensively. They're finding the seams in Denver's defense. They're getting big production from Duncan Robinson, from Caleb Martin. He struggled in the finals, but I'll save it that I think he's going to have a big game in game 3. I also think Max Strus did enough in game 2 to warrant continuing to play. He's comfortable as a starter. Where are Tyler's minutes going to come from? Assuming he can and will play, where is he going to play? Is he going to play a couple minutes here in the second quarter? You saw what happened in the second quarter when Denver's reserves absolutely blasted Miami off the court. Is that the right opportunity for him? I don't see it. Moreover, to answer the question, yes, they can continue to win. They're getting the production. They're playing smart defense. Tyler, for all of his strengths offensively and the potential for him to improve defensively, I don't know that you want to test him in this series where he could be a little out of place in a certain possession, where he could be, maybe lose his assignment. Maybe he doesn't shift over at just the right time. The timing that Miami has perfected over the course of the playoffs to get to this point in the NBA Finals when it comes to their zone, their hybrid zone, whether it's 2-3, 3-1, 3-1, whatever it is out there, you want to put Tyler in that position? I just don't see it. And I don't think he's going to have the ability to fit in right away. I just don't. Like there's something to be said, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll be happy to eat crow if this is the case. If he comes in there and provides that 15-point spark, hey, that's great. I just don't see it happening right away, especially when Denver's defenders are probably going to hack at that hand, probably going to chop at his arm a little bit, try and hurt him just to steal the ball, but also, yes, to try and, maybe exacerbate any lingering injury. I don't know that that's worth it. He just had the surgery. He's working his way back. I know he's young and there's a fast timetable for recovery there. I just don't see you taking that chance. But anyway, we'll talk about that some more throughout the rest of the series as we break down his potential return, as any kind of reporting gets updated. As of now, he's still listed as out, and we expect that to be the case moving forward for Wednesday's game 3. But we'll talk a little bit about some unfortunate reporting regarding Jimmy Butler, as well as my interview with Gary Payton. He had a lot to say about Bam Adebayo and why Heat culture continues to dominate the NBA. But before we do that, just a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the best and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Killer deals on last-minute tickets. Their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals on last-minute tickets. You can find whatever you're looking for, and you happen to be in town, you want to catch, let's say, a Marlins game. A lot of visiting reporters coming here to catch the NBA Finals. Go catch a Marlins game. They're doing pretty well. Gametime is the place for last-minute ticket deals. You always get the best price. You get images of where you're going to sit and whatever venue you're going to be at, so you know exactly what it's going to look like. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account using the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we're back here on Locked On Heat. Going to be posting my interview with Gary Payton in just a few minutes, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But I did want to talk a little bit about some unfortunate reporting. I haven't clicked on it. I haven't even really followed up on it. I'm not doing my due diligence as a reporter, and for that, I do apologize. But partly, I am concerned with the source on said reporting, which is Skip Bayless. I don't watch Skip Bayless, haven't followed anything that Skip Bayless says. It hasn't for a while. At the same time, I would be blinding myself to the reality that he is a popular and controversial figure, and that's just the way he likes it. Controversial doesn't matter as long as he's popular. He went on whatever show he's on, because, again, I haven't watched it in a long time, so I just saw a snippet via social media and basically just shut it off almost as soon as I saw it, that Jimmy Butler is dealing with some personal issues. I don't even know that I want to get into it. If you have social media, there's a good chance you are already aware of this. Let's just say it concerns the health of a family member, a very close family member, that may or may not be impacting Jimmy's overall approach to the NBA Finals. I want to start off talking about it, and just from this point of view, that is not Skip Bayless's right to admit that or post that. I know there is a line of thinking regarding reporting in sports and things of that sort that, well, it's out there. As long as I can find it, I might as well post it. But what he did is reprehensible. There have been other situations with other and current Heat players in the past that have gone unreported by local media members, including myself. And that being the case, what Skip did to a team that he doesn't even cover is just unbelievable. I cannot imagine a world where any of us would want news about a personal nature being broadcast, not just in around our respective workplaces, but around a larger community that is tuned in to whatever our daily lives happen to be. And so for him to go out there and say, you know what, I'm hearing that Jimmy is dealing with this, and that's why he's not playing well. That's absolute BS. And I just can't believe that we're even spending more time thinking about it than we have to. I will also say that Jimmy has not played great, and I don't think there's anything wrong in admitting that. He has been decent. In my interview with Gary Payton, he called him mediocre, and that's as fair a term as you can use. I think there's also some pretty obvious lingering impact from injury that's impacting Jimmy Butler. He does not look like the same player we saw throughout most of the playoffs. Given that, I think that's what we should be focusing on. And moreover, it doesn't even matter. He's out there on the floor and he's trying. He's pushing through whatever it is, emotionally, physically, the stress of the NBA Finals, and it is clearly a stress for everybody involved. And so when he's out there doing what he has to do, that's all that matters. That's all we should be focusing on as fans and as media of the game, and not much else. Can we hint at the fact that maybe he's got some lingering impact from injury? Absolutely. I've said it on this show many times. I don't think it's, as he said himself, we shouldn't care. We don't care. He doesn't care. He's out there on the floor doing what he needs to do. He just hasn't been very successful, or as successful as we might imagine he could be. And it's all beyond us now. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to focus on it. I just find that Skip's comments were really out of pocket. They were not, he should not have been out there to put that out there. It's not his right. It's not fair to Jimmy. And it's just a little unfortunate. This is coming out now on the highest stage. I don't think it's going to impact Jimmy Butler whatsoever. So I'll put that out there as well. But the situation itself is rather unfortunate. There's also some ridiculous commentary. I know this is tying into this whole thing. There's some ridiculous, again, social media. I know it's a very small part of our listening and viewing audience, but you see a tweet and it gets posted on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media profile you might have, and all of a sudden you're going, oh, there's dissension in the ranks. Bam, yelling at a Heat PR staffer and making it seem like he's pissed off all the time, like he's angry. He's also rolling his eyes at Associated Press reporter Tim Reynolds, not knowing that they have a strong connection and that they joke with this with one another all the time. It's just ridiculous how things get built up like this, but you see a snippet of it, and next thing you know, oh, this team's waiting to fall apart. It's the NBA Finals. The Heat have been as good and as built to hang tough a unit as you have ever seen at this point in the NBA Finals. And they believe in each other. There's a strength in the locker room. And it just seems like everybody wants to pick at that for one reason or another, or to find faults, to find cracks in the facade. I just don't get it. I don't know why it's being posted out there. That's just not something that I cater to, or that there's a strength in doing. There's nothing to back it up. There's no way of quantifying it. It doesn't have any kind of real impact on this team. They're winning basketball. It's all that matters right now. They're playing the best that they possibly can, and it's a strong group. And they're getting there's so many positive storylines out of this Heat group. For them to be obsessing or focusing on what's going on with Jimmy's personal life or with Bam and his alleged relationships with reporters, it's just unbelievable to me. So many positive things to focus on. But anyway, I'll also offer my prediction before I wrap up this segment. I do want to talk about Caleb Martin because I do think he struggled. I know he's been sick. I know that they've done a very good job of limiting him. He started in game one, played not sparingly in game two, but hit a big shot down the stretch and has continued to struggle offensively. I think he's going to have a big explosion in game three. I know it's a little different defense than what he saw against the Boston Celtics. I know the Celtics weren't expecting Caleb to have that big burst. I still think that he's going to be an impactful player, and I will go so far as to say that he will hit the I was going to say 18-point mark, but I'm more comfortable saying he's going to score 15 points or more in game three. That's my prediction. I think he's going to have a big bounce back game. The altitude is behind him. He's back in Miami. That's home. The crowd's going to love him. They loved him throughout the Eastern Conference Finals when he was dominating that series and could just as easily have challenged Jimmy Butler as the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And that being said, I think he has his big bounce back game. Stay tuned. We'll be talking to Gary Payton next about his thoughts on the NBA Finals, Bam Adebayo, Heat culture, and so much more. But before we do that, just a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks and their $1 million Super Flex promotion. Every day of the NBA playoffs and finals, one PrizePicks user will get a chance of becoming a millionaire. You place an entry, and if you pick a 6-pick flex with the following payouts, you get 6 correct picks, you get $1 million. 5 correct picks get you $80,000. 4 correct picks gets you 16 grand, but you have to opt in at prizepicks.com/million. You can find more details there. Once you opt in, all you have to do is play the game like usual, and that means you could be a lucky winner. And playing the game has never been easier. Daily fantasy made easy. You just pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go more or less, score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money, and you can do it on any sport, not just the NBA, but Major League Baseball, men's and women's college sports, Eurobasket, cricket, boxing, whatever you're interested in, aside from the Miami Heat, of course. You can find it over on PrizePicks.com. So download the PrizePicks app, go to PrizePicks.com, sign up and play daily fantasy sports. You can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100, but only if you use the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. So don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON for sign up at an instant deposit match up to $100 by downloading the PrizePicks app or going to PrizePicks.com today. Joining me on the show today is a special guest, the Hall of Famer, one of the top 75 players in NBA history, and a part of the 2006 Miami Heat championship team. It's one of Oakland's finest, Gary Payton. How are you doing, Gary? And thanks for joining me on the show today.
Good, thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for even having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. 2006, a special memory for a lot of Heat fans, but of course, Miami back in the NBA Finals for the 7th time in franchise history. Series tied at 1 apiece. What are your thoughts overall on the series so far?
Well, you know what? A lot of people have was written Miami off. They didn't think that Denver that they can compete with Denver. They was talking about the series will be either 4-1, 4 blank, whatever, because Denver has not lost at home. This team right here, the Miami Heat, is a team that you got to understand. These guys are all well together. If they're in a game with about 8-9 minutes to go, and they're lingering around at about 8 or 9 points or 7 points, they're going to beat you because they're relentless. They can make shots. They play defense. They're very hard. And then, they got a guy in Butler who can take over a basketball game. Right now, for the first two games, he's just been mediocre. But that's when all the other players have kept to step up, like Bam, like the Robinsons, like them type of guys, the Martins, the guys. They're stepping up, as you seen yesterday, as they did. A lot of the guys step up. And then it's not even bad to have Kyle Lowry in there. A veteran who can do everything and get you big shots. He made big threes to keep the game around. And I just think this team is very, very scary and dangerous when you're doing that. You have to beat this team and beat them real soundly before he'll beat this squad. They showed that in the Boston series. They showed that in the Milwaukee series. You cannot just say, okay, I'm this number one seed or this seed and walk up in here and act like you're going to beat them, because they're not going to lay down like that. And that's the way Spo has always been around Pat Riley. And we were like that in 2006. You can't just come in here and get on the floor and say, because you are the favorite, you're going to beat us. And we showed that and won a championship. And I think this team is the same way.
Yeah, I'm glad you point that out, because Eric Spoelstra has said that throughout the whole season, that one of their strategies is to kind of just drag the game through the mud, keep it close, and then let Jimmy, Bam, or Tyler, when he was healthy, just let them go to work, and that'll be the advantage. But I'm glad you brought up that Jimmy is mediocre, because it's the quiet part out loud that Heat fans haven't wanted to talk about. What have you seen in terms of Jimmy's performance so far? Do you think Denver's doing something, or do you think these are just the lingering effects of Jimmy's injury?
Well, we can't say that, whatever's happening, right? I think that because everybody has scouting reports and they know that Jimmy's a little hurt, right? So what they do now is they're doubling him. They're keeping a crowd around him. They're not making it one-on-one. When he gets on the ISO, they stack in, they crowd it, and then all of a sudden, every time he goes to the bucket, everybody is trying to crash down on him. But what he's doing so good is that what he's doing is he's kicking it. And when you're kicking the basketball and moving the basketball and not trying to force nothing because of your game, which I compliment him on that. Most stars would say, okay, I'm struggling. Now I want to try to make my shot because I'm not getting shot. He's not. He's kicking the basketball, and what is happening? These guys are knocking down shots. And then when they're knocked down shots, that's a different story. And I think we don't know if he's hurting or not. It might be a little bit or whatever, but he's out there playing. He's not complaining about it. He's not talking about it. He's out there playing the game. And look what happened. It's 1-1. It's 0-0. Now you're in a 5-game series. That's it. Now, if you can win 2 in Miami, you put the pressure on Denver, and then it becomes your series. You know what I'm saying? So you would just have to think about, hey, to me, with the knowledge of the game and how it goes, you win 1 here in Miami and keep it close. You keep it like that. But Miami is a great road team. You see that. They beat everybody they play on the road. And when they beat people on the road, it's not a home court advantage no more. They're a dangerous team. And I just think that if Butler starts to pick it up a little bit and get to 80% or whatever what he was doing in the previous series, I think they got a good chance of winning this.
A lot of people making the talking point today that Nikola Jokic was forced into being a scorer rather than a playmaker, but he did wind up having only 4 assists and 5 turnovers. Very different game than what we've seen in the postseason. What did you see that Miami did differently in terms of their defensive scheme to kind of limit his passing opportunities and to keep his assist numbers so low?
Well, you remember everybody kept saying, don't double him. Don't double him. Let him bang him. Let him bang him. You see, as Miami is playing the zone a lot, they're playing the zone, they're switching, and they're putting the little guys on him. But what the little guys are doing is they're holding Jokic up because they know he's not that much explosive getting past them. He's not that athletic. He gets off the floor just a little bit, but he's effective. But if you keep on pounding on him, and I'll give you an example. When Golden State played him last year, my son played him. What did my son do? My son kept going underneath him, He kept pestering him. He made it a problem for him. And then when he got up off his feet, my son blocked the shot a couple of times. This is what guys are doing. And if they do not double him and make him take tough shots and don't get everything going, if he has a triple-double, it's going to be hard for the Miami Heat to beat them. But if he doesn't, like they did last night, they have a good shot of beating him, and that's what they did. They made him become a scorer. I'd rather take that. I'll take him scoring 40, having 4 assists, and only 8 rebounds than he's having 40, 15, and 12. I'd rather have that because he's dominating the game in. I think that's what they did very well yesterday, is that they didn't overreact. They let him take shots, and then some of the shots, he was so getting out of time, he was getting out of breath and tired. They were making him work so much that he was throwing like a couple of air balls here. He wasn't doing the right shots, and that's the way they did it. And they stayed in the game. And at the end, they came back, got a lead, and held it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you brought up your son's performance in the series last year. But I've got to ask, obviously, you're one of the best defenders in NBA history. What would you have done? Because Jokic, notorious for being a little bit thin-skinned, and I know that you were a pretty infamous trash talker back in your day. What would you have done to get under Jokic's skin and keep him from getting into his strengths? Because obviously he can be rattled a little bit if you defend him just the right way. If he doesn't get a couple fouls going his way, what would you have done if you had the opportunity to play somebody like Jokic?
Well, my art is gone out of the NBA right now, out of that sport.
No handshake.
It's gone. You know what I'm saying? So. When I probably was playing him, I'll probably be banging him, getting steals, and then I'll be like, I'm gonna do this to you every time. Every time I'm gonna get at you. You know what I'm saying? You can't score on me. And once you start talking to a player and then he reacts, that's when you get him. You get him during that time. But he tries to keep a stone face. He walks away, does things. But you can get under guys' skin when they're struggling. If they're struggling and you make a couple of turnovers. And I'm going to once go again to my son again. Remember, my son did that to him last year, and he started that. Then he didn't play no more. Then he started complaining to the referees. He started doing other things, and then he got out of his game. What you have to get him out of his game. And that's what I would do. I would just keep talking to him and see if he reacts to me, and then just keep saying little stuff. I'm going to block that every time. Now I'm going to go back down here, and I'm going to kill you down here on this end. And that's what you would have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of the job Bam Adebayo's done? Because obviously one of the best defenders in the league. We're big fans of his around these here parts. But considering you probably don't watch him nearly as much as we do down here, what have you liked from him in the series in terms of his offensive production, but overall just his defensive presence against a player like Jokic?
Well, I watch him a lot because I watch this Miami team a lot. This is still like family to me. This is where I won my championship at. Spro is like a little brother to me. Pat is like a father to me. I watch this team a lot. And with Bam, I've always said all year, if he be more aggressive and he takes the game more into his control, he'll be a great basketball player. But he usually seems to just go along, you know what I'm saying, and do what he can. I think in this series, he's been very aggressive, which he should be. You've seen at the end of the game last year, he was taking yesterday, he was taking the ball to the basket, dunking the ball, doing the things he's supposed to do, getting to the free throw line there. If he averaged 20 in this series, like I said, Miami has a great chance. And then Butler comes on and start doing his thing, but you can't, you can't take nothing away from Butler. It is what it is, but the other guys are stepping up. And that guy is Bam. He's been the one who's been doing the most for the last 2 games. I think he's been playing well. Because he has to match the Joker's energy and play. And that's what he's been doing. And he matched it, and he's been doing it for the last 2 games. He just got to extend it. It's only 5 games left. Just try to play them 5 games. I'll play Jokic or stay with him and then you guys got a good shot at winning another championship.
Are you a little surprised that Miami's role players have stepped up as much as they did? Because, I mean, obviously they've been great throughout the postseason, but during the regular season, they were kind of off and on. And you've had a lot of people talking about the undrafted factor. Does that mean anything to you? Obviously, your son was undrafted, but you've seen players, whether they're drafted or not, just rise up to the challenge. Are you surprised Miami's role players have been as good as they are?
No, hey, listen, they're in the NBA. You know, Pat Riley seen something in these guys to put them on a team, him and Sproul. These guys are out here for nothing. They expect them to play this way. They expect them to make shots. This team knows who their star is. Their star is Butler. Then you go with Bam. Then you go with Herro and all them guys. Go down the line. If you're called, you supposed to step up and play the game and play. Every one of these guys who have now got called by Spro has stepped up and did what they're supposed to do. That's your job. That's why you get paid millions of dollars. I'm not surprised by none of these guys or they making shots. You're supposed to do that. That's your job. You know what I'm saying? I'm not surprised. I'm just happy that they're doing their job. They're making their shots. They're doing what they're supposed to do to keep this a series. And that's just all the way it goes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not surprised by anybody doing, because a guy who's not undrafted, you miss a gem. You miss a fortune. That's what I tell everybody. I tell my son the same thing. They missed out on a fortune. Now Golden State has got you back. Look what happened. You let a guy like that play and let him do his thing. He'll show you what you missed out on, because they got a chip on their shoulder. They want to show everybody. But you have to have the right coach and the right organization to let them play their game. Yeah. Not say, here, I want you to do this when you know he's not that good at that. Let him just do the things that he do. If he's supposed to go out there for 15 minutes and give you all the hustle points, give you rebounds, give you assists and steals, let him do that. And then let him keep you in that basketball game. And if they knock down some surprising shots and get us some buckets, that's a bonus. And that's what these guys are doing. They're just giving you bonuses. That's it. They're giving you bonuses.
You talked about Lowry already, but we saw Kevin Love inserted into the starting lineup. How important has he been in game two? And then what do you think of the overall factor of having those kinds of veterans with championship experience on the roster and how much of an impact they make in that locker room?
I'm big on veterans. You know what I'm saying? When I got drafted, I had about 8 or 9 veterans who had been in the league 5 or 6 more years. They taught me how to play the game. You don't know how to play the game if you don't have a veteran on there who teaches you that way. This guy still can play. He knows how to play. He comes in there. He does his job. He leads by example. He makes shots when he have to. He gets big rebounds. He makes assists. He does that. And if you have these type of guys that you can just go down a bench and say, man, I got a Kevin Love. Let me go start him now. Let's change up something in game 2 after we lost. And it changes up. And look what happened. We're talking about this the next day. They won and put it on made it 1-1 because of a lineup change and the way people went into their roles different. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the guy on that court dictating things and pumping them up. You seen him in game 1. He was up there all the time, talking and directing. Then you exert him into the lineup, and then he makes big difference. And that's what you need. You need a veteran or 2 or 3 on each one of these teams with these young kids, because our league is getting young. It's getting young and it's getting fast. So you still got to understand. But in these finals, things slow down and possessions become really, really valuable. And they don't know that. They don't know how to take possessions valuable. And that's what Kevin Love came in and did, and he changed it. Like, once again, Kyle Lowry. They got know how to take possessions valuable and make, special plays out of them valuable possessions, because you win games on them type of possessions.
Do you see either team making an adjustment for game 3 in terms of how they approach the starting lineup, or just anything that they do in terms of defensive scheme or something different that they might bring to the table? We saw the Love insertion. We expect him to continue starting because he's obviously been so impactful in that role. What do you think Denver does to kind of match up with Miami now?
See, that's where I don't agree with a lot of stuff. Do what you've been doing since you got there.
Right.
You make little adjustments. You say, what did we do wrong to lose this basketball against Miami?
Right.
Okay, Jokic, we can't have you doing that. We can't have you overexerting yourself trying to score more points. We need you to be the joker that we're supposed to be. I need a triple-double out of you. Okay, guys, if they're planning one-on-one, Joker, now you have to score on these guys to make them be double teaming you so that we can get some of our guys open. More movement. I wouldn't change anything. I'll just say that. Let's play like the way we got here. That's all the way we have to do. Play like we have to get there. I don't think Denver is going to make any adjustments. I don't think they're going to make no starting lineup changes. They just got to play. Miami has figured it out. They're not going to keep on doing it. They're not going to change anything. I think they're going to keep saying what they're playing, how they're playing, and they'll be fine.
One last question before we let you go. And thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. You're part with the starry Miami Heat bandwagon. You're going to be driving through the city. What are your memories of the fan base from your time here? You spent a couple seasons with Miami, but what do you think of the fans in South Florida? Because they get a lot of they get some discredit nationally because they show up late or because they might not be hardcore fans. But what do you remember about the fans here in South Florida?
I just remember that they were real. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how late they showed up. By the time the second quarter got there, that arena was full. It was on hit. It was everything. Sorry with the Miami Heat and this bandwagon. Everybody gonna get on the bandwagon. Look here, man. It's 1-1 right now. There's gonna be other people coming out the woodworks getting on that bandwagon. So keep it up. It's Miami. This Miami culture is still the same, guys. Y'all knew what it was from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? They get in late, they come late, whatever. But when they get there, they're on it. They're on it. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to keep it pumping, man. Wednesday, hey, look here, man. This bandwagon stuff is going to be great because I think this is going to be a great thing before it. We're going to be juiced out there. We're going to have other celebrities. We're going to have people winning prizes. It's going to be great, man. And Starry has did a great job of doing this and putting this together. Everybody going to be ready for Wednesday. This is what's going to happen.